and then 6 months later you say the prayer didn't come true. Did you follow the guidelines of what you were supposed to do? See, a miracle is when you don't do nothing. Just answer prayer might require you going to work. You know what I mean? So if you're not willing to do what's required to get what you want, God ain't like the magician. There's an exchange in the relationship. I trust you, so I'm asking you to enable me. I'm not asking the Lord to come down and do half of it. I'm asking him to enable me to do what's required of me, train me that I be the best that I can be at what I'm getting ready to do. Now, if I'm not willing to do that part, it ain't gonna happen.
That is so true. And you know what? That discipline and persistence when you're already it's called the law of inertia. So there's always going to be something to try to knock you off your track if they see that you're on a routine and that you're doing well. And you've had to overcome some obstacles. Can you tell us about, and I just heard about your obstacle that you overcame with the Internal Revenue Service. Because you are always, let me tell you something, if you're a successful business person, there were IRS is that acronym makes people stand at attention. So
okay. That's right.
So can you tell us about how you overcame some of the tribulation?
Well, I'm
with
gonna say
IRS.
this. I'm gonna just say this because it's a personal thing, but I think it's relevant to what we're doing. It was from sex to drugs. So in the 80s were the drug years. Doing those 10 years. And in 89, I stopped doing cocaine, and I never did it again. But during that 10-year period, it was very, very destructive. I had to like the guy that came by to read the water meter, right? He came out one day because I hadn't paid the bill, and he had the thing get ready to turn the water. I had a salon full of people. I said, "My man, what's up?" He said, "Man, we got the water turned." I said, "Hey, bro, look. Is there any way you can come back at the end of the day, man? Because he said, I can't come back today, man, but I'll come back tomorrow." So the next day when he came by, I had not got it taken care of. So he said, "Man, look, I can't come back." I felt bad and embarrassed. I said, "Man, I just can't." I said, "Man, if you just give me the money, I just juggle it, responsibilities and unregulated needs." So I had the money then, but I had to face those kind of things. I couldn't pay my bills, and it was, somewhat of a sexual addiction and a drug addiction is the same thing. If it's available, you'll do it until you get to a point. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Until you get to a point of understanding that this was allowed in your life so that you could deal with it, and overcome it, and then find yourself sitting here explaining to people that it's not necessarily the worst thing that can happen to you. The worst thing that can happen to you in life is that you don't deal with what happens to you. You know what I mean? Especially when you turn the key to the door that caused the problem. The training happens in the room, and the Lord delivers you from the room once you've been trained. So I left that aspect of my life alone, and I was very fortunate to have married a young lady right after I quit. I quit like in November, and she and I got married something like in February. And we were married for 5.5 years. She was a retired finance person for the power company in South Florida. And she retired she was like 30-something, 39 or something. I was really amazed. But she was such a proficient woman, And it was interesting, our relationship was interesting because her mother had never married. Her mother had several children, a lot more than me. So she came up without a father. I came up without a father. She loved me. But her internal instinct, though it was manufactured from environmental impact, wasn't that of a single-minded person. So as much as she loved me, being herself meant she was by herself. It didn't mean she didn't have to be with a man because she lived a life where a woman didn't have one. It was really weird, but I understood it over time. It would have been one thing if she got married to somebody else, but she didn't. She was just a single woman, and that's what she wanted to do. But she was in my life for 6 years, and during that time it transformed. Let me tell you a little short story. When I met her, I had the federal LIEN, right? And I had never mentioned it to her. She had some property in Fort Lauderdale that was going to be sold when she moved up here. Well, one day I came home and I saw the IRS bill. I just dreaded opening it. So I went over, opened it up, and it was a letter detailing the money that had been paid and the interest that had been knocked off because all of it was paid off at one time. And the debt was clear. So I went to her. I said, I said, did you look at this? She said, yeah, I saw it. I said, well, I'm gonna have to. She said, no. She said, I paid it. I said, you paid? It was a lot of money. I said, you paid it. She said, yeah. I said, well, baby, you didn't have to do that. I said, listen, I promise you, I will get your money back. I'll never forget this. She said, I'm your wife. That became our responsibility. I took care of it. Let's not ever discuss it again. And I've not said, I don't talk that often now, but that was back from the 90s. I mean, you understand? So that level of integrity, when I saw that from a person, someone who was that committed to a man they'd only known for 8-9 months or something, you know what I mean? It really gave me a sense of, undeniable respect for a person who is genuine as she was. She didn't do it for any other reason, and that's just who she was. If she was with me, she was with me. She wasn't with me, she was with me. So I learned a great deal from her as far as managing finance, personal finance, wherein I could, I had so many different little plans. I could show you pictures in my phone right now of over years, bundles of $1 bills. Bundles. I say $1 bills, right? When I was in business, I used to get a lot of dollar bills, tips. So I would save all my tips. If I broke $1, and if I broke a 10, for let's say I paid $2, they gave me $5.